Alright, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor going to the Most High Power Yahweh. In the name of His beloved Son, Yahweh Shai, double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that do rule exceptionally well. Also, Shalom, citations, mercy, and blessings to all the sincere brothers out there pushing this word with truth and with faith. My name is Tabu Mouth of Great Millstone Northwest, and I came across an article earlier that I would like to read for you brothers. Alright, this article is from the RT News website and app, and it was published on 22 June 2017, which is today's date. The headline reads, U.S. Navy missile defense test fails off Hawaii. All right. An interceptor missile fired from a U.S. Navy destroyer off the coast of Hawaii failed to hit the target, the U.S. Missile Defense Agency said. The failure follows last month's successful test of a ground-based interceptor against an ICBM-like target. On Wednesday evening, local time, a medium-range ballistic missile was fired from the Pacific Missile Range facility in Kauai, Hawaii, the MDA said in an official statement about the test. The MDA is the Missile Defense Agency. It says the destroyer USS John Paul Jones, DDG-53, tracked the missile with its onboard AN Spy-1 radar, part of the Aegis baseline 9.C2 weapon system. The ship fired a SM-3 Block 2A guided missile but did not hit the target. A planned intercept was not achieved, the MDA statement said. Program officials will conduct an extensive analysis of the test data. Until the review is complete, no additional details will be available. Okay, and that's all I'm going to read from this article. There is more, and if you would like to look it up, you can find it on RT News. Okay, now what I find funny is that the U.S. always boasts about how they're not worried about any missile because they can strike it down, yet they was unable to strike down just this medium range missile for the test. They was unable to strike that down. Now, it did say that their ground-based ones was able to stop a ICBM, but it's the ones that's on the Navy ships that really come into play for being a part of the U.S.'s defense against missiles. It's those Navy carriers that have that the missile defense installed on them that really pack the punch for the U.S. Military, specifically the U.S. Navy. Their ground-based ones, they have to set those up, and they can only set those up in territories that they occupy, all right, such as their allied territories, and then just territories that they occupy due to previous wars that they have taken over that area. Those are the only places they're able to install those missile defense systems that's on the ground. They really need the ones in the water because those are the ones that they move around depending on which area has the most tension. Like, I'm pretty sure they have a lot in the Pacific right now. They also have some in the Baltic Sea, in the Mediterranean, and the such. All right, but it says that they was unable to stop this one medium range missile. Now, they always boast about that, but when they never take into account the actual number of missiles that are going to strike. All right, according to the scriptures, and we are going to grab the scriptures, by the way, according to Revelations, the 9th chapter, all right, there's going to be a lot more than just 1 or 2 missiles for them to intercept. This is Revelation chapter 9. Let's start at verse 13. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar which is before the Most High. This is John the Revelator seeing a vision, by the way, saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, all right, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. Now, it's kind of funny that Euphrates is in the news right now with Russia speaking about the coalition that the U.S. is going on. You got the Euphrates in the news at this very moment. It says, and the 4 angels was loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the 3rd part of men. Okay? Now, the Most High has an exact time planned out on when everything is going to happen. All right? And that day is going to come as a thief in the night. The reason it comes as a thief in the night is because people are not going to be prepared for it. All right? But the men of the Lord will be prepared because we are watchmen. All right? It says, and the number of the army, this is verse 16, all right? And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. Now, you hear that number 200,000. Let's look up and see just what exactly that number looks like. So 200,000, that's 200,000 right there, 1,000. Wow, that's 200 million missiles. 200 million missiles is prophesied to be actually fired off, okay? 200 million missiles, not just one or two, not just a couple, not just 5, you know, not even 10. It would be amazing if America was able to stop 10 missiles coming at them all at once, all right? Or any country for that matter, to stop 10 missiles that's coming at them all at once, especially if they're coming from different directions. That would be outstanding, all right? That would be a good missile defense system. But this says 200 million missiles that are going to be fired off to slay the third part of men. The third part of men represents Esau. Let's put that out there, okay? Because the men are separated into 3 different classes. The sons of the Most High, which is the Israelites. The sons of men, which is the heathens, and then the sons of the wicked, which is Esau. And this is definitely speaking about Esau's power structure getting jacked up, okay? That's that third part of men. So it says, so another question you might have if you're not learned to these scriptures, you know, if you're not too familiar, is how do you know that when it's saying horsemen, the army of the horsemen, that is speaking about missiles? Well, that's going to be explained in the verses to come, all right? But as we're reading these verses, you gotta take into account and keep it in your mind that John the Revelator is speaking about, he's having this vision and he's trying to describe what he's seeing the very best way he can using the terminology that he had then. All right, back 2,000 years ago or so, they didn't have any terminology such as nuclear weapon, missile. All right. They didn't have things like that. So he's trying to explain what he's seen using the terminology that he had at the moment. All right. It says, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and adjacent, and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Okay. So what do we have in the world, in the history of the world, that comes anything remotely like this, where it's a breastplate that's a fire, all right, and it has brimstone with it, and out of its head, the head would be like a lion, and it issues out fire, smoke, and brimstone? Well, let's do this. Let's go back to this, and let's look at this picture that they have down here. Okay, look at this picture that they have right here under read more. Okay, it's talking about a breastplate of fire. Now, a breastplate is usually made out of some type of metal, and the missiles are definitely made out of metal, all right? And it's definitely got fire flying from beneath it, okay? And out of its mouth, which means it says it has a head as a lion, and the reason it's like a head like a lion is because the head is, a lion's power is in its head, you know? It's where its mouth is. The missile's power is the warhead, all right? Where its mouth would be, right? And it says it issues out fire, smoke, and brimstone. And as soon as a missile goes off, it's definitely coming forth some fire and some smoke to turn things to where it looks like brimstone. Let's look at a missile. Well, let's look at a missile. Let's look at some images of a missile. Of missiles, should I say. All right. Breastplate of fire. Okay. And out of his mouth is going to issue fire, smoke, and brimstone. As soon as this thing goes off, as soon as it hits and that big mushroom cloud comes up, that's involving fire and smoke and brimstone, okay? Because it's scorching everything around it. All right, it's scorching anything where that warhead drops is getting completely plastered, man. It's getting completely jacked up, okay? So, still not convinced? That's fine. We'll go back to the scriptures and continue to read. It says, by these 3 was the third part of men killed, which is by fire, smoke, and brimstone. That's the 3 it's speaking about. By the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth. And that's like I said, the power of a nuclear weapon is going to be in that warhead. All right. It says, and in their tails. Why would it say in their tails? Why would it even speak of them having tails? All right. It's because that's what's propelling them. That's what's moving them forward. Okay. The faster the missile can go, the higher of an impact it can have, you know. So it says in their mouth, and let's read it. Let's read it again. It says, for their powers in their mouth and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and their head and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And with them they do hurt, man. So let's look at the tails. It says the tail was like a serpent. The reason the tail is like a serpent, look at this picture here. Okay. You see how long of a tail that is compared to the actual body and head of the missile? That's why it's like a serpent. You think of a very a big snake like a python or something. All right, it has a very long tail, right? That's moving it forward. That's why the power is in the tail. The python's power is what? In its body and in its tail, which, you know what I'm saying, you can't separate one from another. So that's the same thing that's going on with these missiles. That's why the tail is like a serpent. It's because it leaves a very, very long streak behind it. Okay. Remember, this is an ancient man that never seen anything of the sort like this. But he's trying to explain it the very best way he can, using the terms that he has at that very time, man. And it says that it does hurt. Why? Because it's issuing out that fire, that smoke, and that brimstone, man. Imagine that thermonuclear missile firing off. That's definitely gonna hurt, man. You know. So America has a big challenge ahead of them. That's the point. That's the point. The missile defense system failed. So what hope do they have, especially when they got to take the large majority part of that 200 million missiles that's going to come this place, man. That's going to come to this place, you know. So, but yeah, brothers, check this stuff out, man. I'm out of here. Until next time, I say shalom. You know,